Good afternoon. This is the Transportation Benefit District. It is Tuesday, August 20th, 2024. It is 4:01 p.m. I'm calling this meeting to order. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the president. Vice President Emily Klaus to my left, as well as Commissioner Board Member Gary Edwards, Board Member Wayne Fournier to my right, as well as Board Member Ty Menser. We'll start this meeting off with the approval of the August 20th, 2024 agenda. Is there a motion?
But I'll make the motion. I move to approve the proposed agenda for Tuesday, August 20th, 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Okay, the agenda is approved. Next is the approval of the meeting minutes for March 19th, 2024, and we'll wait for Vice President Klaus.
Okay. I move to approve the meeting minutes from the last meeting,
March
March 19th, 2024.
Is there a second?
19th. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone against? Okay, the meeting minutes are approved. Next, there's an opportunity for the public to address the board. The Transportation Benefit District welcomes comments from the public. However, there are some guidelines governing such comments to ensure they are appropriate and do not take advantage of the fact that most meetings are televised. Please introduce yourself, including the address you reside in the county. Please address the board, not the audience or staff. And speakers are limited to a total of 4 minutes to address the board. So with that, I will call the first person, John Pettit.
Good afternoon, board members. Thurston County Transportation Benefit District. Now, you're not county commissioners here. You're board members. And this is a totally separate taxing district than Thurston County government in general. Now, I'm making this as a point because we have a whole new set of RCWs that apply to the board. One of the RCWs, of course, I've stated before in previous meetings, the RCW calls for, with a lack of any projects, after there's no projects on the board, after 30 days, the transportation board is supposed to be eliminated and gone, unless it's making payments on a project that may continue to exist because the cost still needs to be paid. But that being said, Thurston County Transportation Benefit District, in all the years that it's actually been in existence, has never had a project. So we're talking about years of time going by, never actually having a project. You've accumulated a little bit of debt only because you've made application of time to make presentations for reasons to collect tax. I'm not necessarily opposed to a transportation benefit district if there are identified projects, but that's part of the requirement is you have to have projects, not just impose a tax without a purpose. So that it will be one of the challenges, and today we don't have any projects listed and being presented as such. So the next thing which I'm going to address, I was being very brief, but if in the future you decide you wish to apply a tax, you may want to have some legal counsel give you some reading about whether board member Fournier happens to be eligible to vote on it because he doesn't live in the district. He lives inside the city of Tenino. The district is only for the unincorporated areas of Thurston County. The rest of you commissioners all live in unincorporated areas. So you can only vote on a tax if you live in the actual district of which it's required. So that's a little issue. Now, On top of this particular issue, I guess I'm going to mention this, is that Thurston County is on a pathway to seek to build confidence that the government isn't just there for the idea of creating more tax revenue and running projects. One of the things which I wanted to mention to you is any money that you would collect for a transportation benefit district, once again, has what I call a color of money. It has to be very specific, only for the purposes of the projects that would be identified. It isn't money to replace money that you've taken out of the road fund, like through shift and diversion this last year of $6.2 million. So I would be very hesitant about suggesting that we create additional tax revenue when in fact we haven't got a project and we're shifting away amounts which would be several times what it is that you're be seeking. Just give it some thought. Understand that we're not really any further along, and this is just a presentation today to talk about process and maybe future. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. That concludes public comment. I'm not seeing anyone on Zoom, unless Matt, you want to be? Just kidding. Okay, moving to department items. From Public Works, Thurston County Transportation Benefit District funding, and Jennifer Walker, Director of Public Works, will present this item.
Thank you, President Mejia. So this is a presentation on funding. It's a follow-up to our March 19th meeting that we had. And so we'll start with just a high-level overview again of what the Transportation Benefit District can fund in terms of programs. So we have 3 separate programs for the establishment of the Transportation Benefit District. The first is preservation. And so projects under that preservation program would be our chip seal, overlay programs. We also could do ADA improvements. With respect to safety, and again, just a recap, what we talked about at the March meeting, this also could be ADA projects. We have Safe Route to School, so those are projects that could be funded out of this program. And then the last one is the technology program, updating our systems with respect to like rapid flashing beacons, our LED street light replacements. So those are the types of projects that could be funded, built with the TBD if it were funded. Talk about the options for actually funding the TBD. And so there are councilmatic options for funding the TBD and voter approved options for funding the TBD. So this again is a table that outlines the TBD board approved, first starting out with $20 car tab up to $50. There's some time elements there, but the estimated revenue is $1.24 million to $3.1 million. A board approved of 1/10 1% sales tax would generate $1.57 million to $1.74 million. Moving on to then more voter approved, the 2/10% sales tax to 0.3% sales tax. You can see the estimated general revenue that would come from that, as well as the vehicle car tab. So again, the board has options in terms of councilmatic or going before the voters. The board asked about basically just like the current landscape of transportation benefit districts in terms of what were established. And for cities in the state of Washington, there are 117 cities that have established a transportation benefit district. And you can see the breakout of what that looks like in terms of 41 are through car tabs, 57 are through sales tax. There's 11 that actually have both. And then of the 117 for city transportation benefit districts, 8 of those are in existence but not funded. With respect to counties, there are 5 established transportation benefit districts. 4 of those are unfunded. The counties that have established transportation benefit districts are, of course, Thurston County, Snohomish County, Pierce County, and King County. The one county that has established, it's actually a border area fuel tax. So there's a number of different ways that you can actually fund, and they've actually established a border area fuel tax. Specifically to Thurston County, Olympia, Lacey, and Tumwater all have transportation benefit districts, and all of those transportation benefit districts are funded. You can see that Olympia has a 0.1% sales tax as well as car tabs. Lacey is 0.2% sales tax, and Tumwater is 0.2% sales tax. Lacey and Tumwater both are voter approved. And then lastly, this has to do with the timing of the revenue collection, and Robin's gonna pinch hit if I need some assistance. So this was a slide that was put together by the budget office when Nicole was here. But the board had asked for timing of when the revenue would be available. And so for sales tax, if the board wanted to go in front of the voters, there are 4 different opportunities within 2025 to have that happen. When the election day would be, the filing date for doing that, when the sales tax would take effect, and when the county would actually be receiving the revenue. And then for the vehicle license fees, there's a 6-month pending approval once the board approves the car tabs. So this is really in response to the board's request to come back with additional information, and we're happy to take any questions that the board may have.
Questions? I have questions. Okay. So if we're going to consider this going this way, I'm wondering what are projects that this funding could be used for?
Do you want to field that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like we said, safety, preservation, and technology were the 3 programs. And so we would be looking at our 6-year transportation plan, as well as some of when we did that tip presentation, we talked about all the programs that are prioritizing these projects. Jennifer mentioned the ADA project. So we have an ADA transition plan in place where we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of identified projects that need to be completed, and they don't necessarily have a funding source. So that could be one area. But Jennifer mentioned Safe Route to Schools. We have Safe Route to Schools projects on our 6-year transportation plan. We also have roundabout projects to address safety and capacity. So the lack of projects is not a problem. And one thing that we could also do is use this funding to leverage much larger amounts of state and federal funds so that we can accomplish bigger projects as well.
That was going to be exactly my next question is, could we use this funding to leverage state and federal funding? So, thank you for that. Board members, Commissioner Edwards?
If a ballot measure was put on for $20 car tax, who votes in that?
Residents of unincorporated Thurston County. That is the boundary of our transportation benefit district, is unincorporated Thurston County.
I have a question. So terms of the three programs, I mean, what does that exclude? Like, I don't, preservation, safety, technology, are there things that we can't go toward that are not within those three?
We probably wouldn't fund concurrency projects, so capacity projects. Because under preservation, it would be focusing on taking care of what we had, not adding capacity to existing infrastructure.
So,
Commissioner Edwards? Board Member
If,
Edwards?
if we wanted to know, sometimes we talk about advisory votes or something, but if we wanted to know how the voters thought about let's just say a $20 tab charge for license on vehicles, why don't we just put that on the ballot and see what the voters have to say?
It doesn't require voter approval if you're under 50.
Well, I'd like to know what the voters have to say. I'm not inclined to do a councilmatic vote. I always like to have the voters have a say. So if we were well thought of by our constituents, they might support it. And if we're not well thought of, maybe they won't. So,
Isn't the TBD created through a vote? It's not.
I don't think so. Legislature allows you to put it in place, as far as I know.
The board created it in 2000.
Oh, we did, through a vote, yeah, a councilmatic vote to do that, but not to raise money, just to put this body together to discuss options. So, I don't know, I'm raising that as an issue, then we'll know. Then we don't have to waste a lot of time having these meetings. We've been having them for, quite a few years and haven't done anything yet. That's all I'm saying, and maybe then we would know if the voters were enthused or not. Just a point of interest,
I mean, I'm probably not gonna vote for a councilmatic TBD, but if we had voter
If the voters approved
authorization
it,
through the
sure, then
through the
the
advisory vote,
voters
then
get
it
a
would-
say.
This costs money to run an advisory vote. What about a?
Well, it won't be an advisory vote. I'm not advocating an advisory vote.
That's what you were saying, I thought.
No, I mean, we've talked about advisory votes in the past.
Yeah.
This is a real advisory vote when people get a
Well,
chance
you're
to
talking
vote
about
on it.
having an actual.
Have an actual vote.
voter approved. So
I
do-
guess, yeah,
okay.
I guess I,
Because he was. I
Because
think
you were saying
hearing
20.
advisory.
Well, because you were talking about the $20 tab.
yeah, like a $20 tab instead of a councilmatic vote.
Does that even fit? Can you do a voter approved less than $50 tab?
Oh,
Because the chart says
Yes.
50 to 100.
You could, if the board chooses to put that for.
Then it would
to a
go,
vote.
well, that's the same difference. I mean, whether you get the vote and then you do it legislative or the vote becomes the legislative act, then, yeah, either way.
I'll even say one other thing. We on the board, we often get a lot of complaints about this, that, or the other in government. But very seldom do I get any complaints about the road department. So maybe that's an indication things are going pretty good. I just throw that out there.
No, I mean, I think it's, my concern, and the reason I kind of prefer an advisory vote and then a legislative act is just the message it sends to the community. When I first got on the board, I would have thought that putting something up for a vote would just be asking the voters for their opinion. But I've learned through a few iterations of that people think that when you put it up there, you're trying to stuff it down their throat or you're promoting it. And sometimes I have promoted something that we put on the ballot, but other times not. And so by having the advisory vote, I think it's sending a clearer message that we just want to know what you think. We're not trying to say, that, we're forcing you to do this thing.
That'd be okay with me.
Well, if you do the advisory vote and it's under $50, then you could councilmatically
Yeah.
approve it
That's what I'm saying.
if the advisory vote
Sure, I
swings
guess so.
in favor of it, then I would imagine you'd have a good argument for supporting a
Sure.
councilmatic action.
Yep.
That's what I'm thinking.
Something to think about.
So then, okay, so then what I'm hearing, and just to, is that there is interest to put an advisory vote forward for the voters, and then go from there. And then I'm hearing a leaning towards the tabs over the sales tax. Is that?
I guess you could do either one, actually. I mean, I don't know how, if I had my option and I was able to select a item, I'd put, something on the sale of gasoline or diesel fuel, or both.
I didn't know you could do both. You know,
So,
you could do a reduced tab fee and a modest sales and use tax fee, and then you're kind of spreading it out to even, I like sales and use tax because you're spreading it out to visitors. And I'm all about promoting tourism and collecting money from people from Pierce County and.
I don't know how that, does anybody know the answer to tribal gas stations? Do they collect for the county?
No,
They do not? Do they collect?
if they're on tribal land, then the tribe does not collect taxes that are remitted to the county.
So that's not maybe too fair, I guess, but, okay. Just something, you wanted to have a conversation. I sensed a quiet period here, so I just thought. Something to think about.
I think the feedback that we have been getting from the other counties that have established transportation benefit districts but haven't had them funded yet, in looking at our motor vehicle fuel tax, and we know that that has been declining. So our estimated motor vehicle fuel tax from 2020 to now 2025 has a reduction of 14.5%. So just the model of the revenue that's available to support the infrastructure that the county has and maintain the infrastructure, it's reducing. And then it's costing us more to do the same amount of work every year, right? Like with inflation, it's just costing more. So the revenue, even just the model that's been set up, which is why legislature is looking at other avenues for transportation funding.
Okay. So I'm seeing councilmatically, you can approve $20 to $50 vehicle fee car tab, and you could approve 0.1% of 1% sales and use tax. Is it and or is it and? Could we propose a $20 car tab fee and a 0.05% sales and use tax and approve that councilmatically? Like, say we go to an advisory vote for those things, and then that comes back in the affirmative. Could we councilmatically approve a mix of those?
I believe so, yes.
I don't think you can go up to 0.5, but
No, 0.05 is less than 0.1.
I think
Half of
point,
0.1.
I'm saying half of 0.1.
oh, I see, okay.
Not 0.5, but.
okay, so I guess for the next step, right, I think coming in with kind of, for staff, come in with maybe a distinct line of projects, that would maybe fit under this. And have the attorney start working on proposed language that maybe would go into a ballot measure, and
It's November. So it'd be next year.
Too late?
it
for
would be,
November?
it would be too late, so it would be for sometime next year, and then the board can consider when next year, and there's either a February special, April special, August primary, or November general for next year. Does that sound good for the board? At our next meeting for staff to bring in proposed language. projects listed out. Anything else? I'm
Well,
looking at you like.
No, do you see smoke coming out? Because I'm thinking, I was thinking about, I think we can give some examples of projects. I think the reason that it was set up as programs was to provide that flexibility, and so it's like leveraging how we would do that. But I also think, as Matt mentioned, we have plans that have priority projects outlined in those plans. The safety plan is an example of that, where we would take a bucket of money and allocate for those improvements.
If I had my druthers, I'd rather have a concrete plan, and I don't mean concrete roads. I mean something really that's, safety is pretty broad. So what does safety entail? But I think something like, how many more miles of paved roadway could we fix that are in dire need? Once in a while, this, presentation has been what kind of shape our roadways are in and which ones are expected to need a overlay, maybe, is that what you call it, overlay? Sometimes it's oil and gravel, but is that an overlay? I don't know which.
That's chip seal. but-
Okay, chip seal versus an overlay.
Yes.
So where the public could actually get an idea what they would get for.
Absolutely, we can make it very, very tangible with this
get
dollar
for their
amount.
money, because I don't think we have to have a special project, I don't think. Couldn't we just say we're gonna enhance the number of miles paved or overlaid, chip sealed, whatever?
Yes, and we'll use that dollar amount for leveraging. It could be our match on an overlay project. We have on our safety plan, the number of improvements for ADA that have to, it's, I don't know, implementation like a 50-year plan, so, and they're prioritized, so we can easily put that together.
I've always felt that concepts don't sell very good with the public, but something they can really see, that they're gonna get a benefit.
Yeah, I think, if I may, in my first TBD meeting, I think the opportunity is to, with the program heading, it sounds like Public Works team has projects to say, program heading, which will facilitate projects such as, but still giving them the flexibility so they're not they're not held to that project, because as things change or funding sources change or opportunities change, I would imagine there'd want to be flexible.
I think that's all about trust, if the public trusts us to do whatever, and that can be pretty broad. Road maintenance, what does road maintenance mean? It doesn't have to be specific, I don't think either.
If I may, President, so that will take us some time for that to happen, so we would be looking at probably in 2025, bringing that forward.
Yeah, something to think about.
I think maybe a January 2025 meeting.
Generally, we have it in March because it follows a holiday. January and February, the third Tuesday usually follows a holiday. So it depends on, traditionally, the board has not met. The Board of County Commissioners has not met, and the Transportation Benefit
So
District Board has
then it
not
would
met.
be for maybe an August primary for next year, kind of the timeline, if we were, does that sound good to everyone? And then then I guess that time also like election costs as well, bringing those forward. That way the board is aware of what it would cost to put an advisory vote in the August primary.
Yes, and I've also, yes, and we'll follow up with the board.
Okay, so then I guess my next, so that we're, can we go ahead and cancel the meetings for the rest of the year? Is that okay with everyone?
Sure.
Does anyone have any heartburn about it?
Sounds good.
Okay, so then it is 4:31, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Ma'am.